My husband's dream girl, Sophie, just posted a sonogram on her social media. Her caption read, "Thank you to my dear friend for lending me some sperm when I was at my lowest. Now I can finally have my own baby." Silently, I hit like and left a comment. "Congrats to you both." Within seconds, my husband Trenton called, livid. "It's just some sperm I lent to Sophie. Why are you blowing this out of proportion?" he barked. I calmly hung up. It was time for a divorce. I walked back inside the house only to be stopped by the kitchen help. "Ma'am, would you like some food?" She paused, taking a glance at me, then continued, "I know you need your strength for two." She smiled knowingly, and my eyes widened. "What?" I whispered. "How did you know?" I walked closer to her and held her arm. "Tell me now. How did you know?" "I haven't told anyone," she whimpered, feeling the intensity of my gaze. "I just know, ma'am. Your physique has changed. I wouldn't have noticed, but I see you every day. It's prone to happen that I notice." She rushed out. I panicked. "You can't tell anyone," I commanded her. She nodded eagerly. "I promise I won't," but I only held her arm even tighter. "You promise?" I asked again. She nodded, this time with tears in her eyes. "I promise on my life, I won't tell a soul." With that, I released her, heaving a sigh of relief. No one can know, at least not now. I let the help go, and I proceeded to the room while she scurried away. I placed my hand on my slightly swollen belly and took a deep breath, preparing to say goodbye to the baby I was carrying. I couldn't keep it now, but as soon as I opened my mouth, my voice cracked into sobs I could barely hold back. This baby was supposed to be a birthday surprise for Trenton, but it seemed he didn't need surprises from me anymore. I was 2 months pregnant. It had taken countless pleas for Trenton to agree to have a baby with me. He never liked intimacy and detested children, always saying they were noisy, disruptive, and exhausting. Yet recently, I'd seen him scrolling through articles on preparing for a baby. He'd even stayed up late making 2 meticulous checklists, one for what a mother-to-be needs and another for baby essentials. I thought he'd finally figured out that I was pregnant, and I was thrilled like an idiot. But now I knew those lists weren't meant for me. That night, Trenton came home unusually early. It was barely 8 p.m. Normally, he didn't come home until after midnight. He called my name from the living room. I lay in bed, silent. When I didn't answer, he didn't call again. A few minutes later, I heard the shower running. He came into the bedroom after his shower, didn't turn on the lights, and quietly slipped into bed beside me. For the first time ever, he wrapped his arm around my waist, his touch warm and tingling. Then he buried his face into my neck, his voice unnervingly soft. "Babe, nothing happened between Sophie and me. I only wanted to help her fulfill her wish. She's always wanted a child, and I promise, once the baby's born, I'll cut all ties with her for good." I said nothing, just moved his hand off my waist and inched away from him. Feeling my coldness, he immediately grew defensive. "I'm making an effort here, and you're still not satisfied? Don't forget, you said my past didn't matter, that you just wanted to be with me, so stop acting like a jealous wife, all right? I could have kept this from you, but I told you out of respect, and now you're letting me down with all this emotions." He unleashed all his pent-up frustration, then threw a final line over his shoulder. "Think about how I've been treating you lately. You wanted a baby and I cooperated. I'll be on the couch tonight." The door slammed behind him. I laughed at my pathetic marriage and at my own blindness. To him, an apology was a favor he was graciously giving me, a display of respect. And if I didn't forgive him, then I was just a petty, jealous wife. He could only treat me this way because I'd let him. My foolish love had built this entire mess, and now I was paying for it. Few minutes later, he came inside. "You should stop being a bitch about it. It's something selfless, Leslie. You should try it. It's called humanity." He picked his pillow and walked out. I scoffed at his retreating figure. "Selfless human, my ass," I whispered. Willing sleep would come. Leslie's POV Trenton was gone by the time I woke up the next morning. I knew exactly where he'd gone. For the past few days, he'd been leaving early and coming home late. His assistant Leon had called several times looking for him. Apparently, Trenton hadn't been showing up at the office. It didn't take much to figure out he was with Sophie. After booking my appointment, I took a cab to the hospital. The abortion was over in less than 10 minutes. Ironically, as I was paying, I ran into Trenton. He was holding Sophie close, his face tight with concern as he looked at me. "Are you following me?" he demanded. I scoffed but didn't respond, instead glancing at Sophie. She immediately avoided my gaze, then tugged playfully at Trenton's ear. "Why would Leslie follow us? She's more mature than that, Trent." With a few words, Sophie deftly shifted the blame onto me. I could only smile and reply, "Exactly. Why would I care about your little checkups?" My bluntness infuriated Trenton. He shoved me. "What's that supposed to mean? I only see Sophie as a sister." Having just come out of surgery, I was still weak, and I stumbled back in pain. Sophie knelt beside me immediately, pretending to scold Trenton while smirking in triumph at me. Disgusted, I pushed her away, trying to stand on my own, but as if on cue, she let herself fall, dramatically clutching her belly and crying out in pain. "My belly! Oh, Trent, my belly!" she dramatically shouted. Trenton was immediately at her side, leaving me behind. "If anything happens to Sophie, I will never forgive you," he yelled. As I stood there, my body cold and drenched in sweat, I watched my husband walk away with another woman in his arms. In that moment, I was deeply grateful I hadn't kept our child. How could a man who didn't even care about his wife ever love her child? Back at home, I opened my phone to post something on social media, only to be interrupted by yet another one of Sophie's updates. This time, she'd posted a picture of Trenton's back with the caption, "There's nothing like feeling safe with a man who truly loves you." The comments from Trenton's friends poured in. "Chris, that doesn't look like your husband, LL. Greg, way to go, dude. Reclaiming your girl. Sam, oh, so you're the one donating the sperm? Congrats, man." Barely a second later, I saw Trenton's own comment. "Don't start rumors. I was just helping out." Are you trying to get me divorced? And his friends responded in unison, got it, loud and clear. But Chris added one more. Why worry? If she's the jealous type, then maybe it's time to end things. Everyone knows you've never really let go of Sophie. Just follow your heart. Chris had been Trenton's best friend since childhood and had never liked me, thinking I wasn't good enough for his friend. In his eyes, Sophie was perfection. Beautiful, sweet, understanding, and I could never compare. But now that my marriage was falling apart, I didn't need to keep up appearances anymore. I commented back, don't worry, the divorce is on its way. You won't have to babysit Trenton anymore. After that, I opened my profile, picked 2 photos, a positive pregnancy test, and my discharge papers from the hospital after the abortion. I then posted, finally free, Leslie's POV. The second I hit post, my notifications blew up with likes and comments. Not a single one came from Trenton's friends, though. They were probably busy calling him to congratulate him on finally being free. In no time, my phone was ringing nonstop. Calls from my parents, his parents, and even Trenton himself. I ignored all the calls, only sending a quick text to my parents. I'm coming home today. We'll talk when I get there. Packing took no time at all. As I was about to leave, Trenton's car pulled into the driveway. He stormed out, fury written all over his face. Leslie, what the hell is this? You abort our baby over a sperm donation that I did. Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? He demanded.
I looked at him quietly, the suitcase still in my hand. Would it have made a difference? I asked, his mouth opened then closed. You never asked why I was at the hospital. You never asked why I looked pale. Never asked why I could barely stand after you shoved me. You were too busy protecting Sophie. His expression stiffened. I didn't know you were having an abortion, I said with a bitter smile. You didn't know because you never cared enough to find out. The first time since we'd married, Trenton looked genuinely shaken. I would have, you would have what? I cut him off. Come with me, held my hand, cried with me, don't insult us both. His shoulders dropped. I thought we agreed to wait before having kids. Then you finally said yes. My voice trembled. Do you know how happy I was? I spent weeks planning how to surprise you on your birthday. His face slowly lost all colour. The baby lists, he whispered. Yes. I thought they were for us. Silence fell between us. I even thanked God, I continued. I thought my husband had finally started looking forward to becoming a father. I laughed softly. But those lists were for Sophie. The words hit him harder than any slap ever could. He took an unsteady step toward me. Leslie, you never meant to hurt me, I finished for him. That's the excuse you've used for years, every broken promise, every cancelled anniversary. Every time Sophie called and I became invisible, he lowered his head. I always came second. Second, I smiled sadly. That's generous, I wasn't even on the list. Just then another car pulled into the driveway. It was Trenton's parents. His mother rushed over the moment she saw me. Leslie. She wrapped her arms around me before noticing the suitcase, then her eyes landed on the printed discharge papers sticking halfway out of the folder I carried. Her hands began to shake. Tell me. This isn't true. I didn't answer. I simply nodded once. The older woman's face crumbled. She turned to her son with tears streaming down her cheeks. You knew she was pregnant. I didn't. The slap echoed across the driveway. So while your wife was losing your grandchild, you were accompanying another woman to prenatal appointments. Trenton stood frozen. His father looked at him with complete disappointment. I didn't raise you to humiliate your wife. At that moment another car arrived. Sophie stepped out. She had probably rushed over after Trenton called her. Seeing everyone gathered, she immediately put on her innocent expression. I only wanted to explain. Before she could finish, Trenton's mother cut her off. Enough! I treated you like a daughter because you said you had no family. But a decent woman doesn't build her happiness on another woman's marriage. Sophie instantly burst into tears. I never asked him to choose me, I said calmly. You never had to. Everyone turned toward me. I was the one always asked to understand. When he missed dinner because of you, I understood. When he spent holidays with you, I understood. When he donated sperm without discussing it with his wife, I was expected to understand. I looked directly at Trenton, but when I lost our baby, was no one left to understand me. No one spoke. Even Sophie lowered her head. I walked past them and handed Trenton an envelope. Those are the divorce papers. He stared at them without moving. I'm not signing, I smiled faintly. You don't have a choice. Already spoken to my lawyer. Also saved every message, every photo, and every public post between you and Sophie. His eyes widened. You were collecting evidence. I was collecting closure. The first time panic replaced his pride. Leslie, please, I love you. Words that I'd waited years to hear sounded empty. I shook my head. No. You loved the version of me that never complained. The woman who always forgave you. But that woman died the day she walked into the operating room alone. I climbed into the waiting taxi. As it pulled away, I looked back one last time. Trenton stood in the middle of the driveway, divorce papers hanging loosely from his hand. Sophie reached for him. This time, he stepped away from her. But it was too late. Some mistakes don't end a relationship the moment they're made. They end it little by little, until one day there's simply nothing left to save. Months later, our divorce was finalized. I heard through mutual friends that Sophie's dream of a perfect family hadn't lasted long. Raising a child alone was far harder than she'd imagined, and Trenton, despite trying to help, was no longer welcome in her life after endless arguments over boundaries and responsibility. As for Trenton, he kept asking friends if I'd ever mentioned him. I never had. I had already mourned my marriage long before the judge ended it. Losing my baby would always be the deepest scar I carried, but staying with a man who made me feel alone would have wounded me for the rest of my life. In the end, I didn't lose my future. I simply stopped giving it to someone who had never truly chosen me. The end.